We don't lose in this house. We definitely win right here today. Let's go. Redskins on 3. 1, 2, 3. Redskins.
All right, Mike, Barry, and myself, we're back here on the Sideline Report. And we are joined by one of the best Redskin fans, not only in the nation, but in the world. This is just an honor to Redskin fans all over during Dallas week. And we're joined by Phil Koschak. And Phil is from Australia. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Thank you, Marvin. It's
All
pleasure
right.
to be here.
All right, and we can say that we are the only show in the area, other than Mike's show, of course, that has a fan from Australia, and we are definitely honored to have you here. All right, and talk a little bit about where you're from in Australia and how you got to be a Redskin fan.
Sure, Marvin. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. Pretty well-known place down there. I first heard about NFL probably about 1980. Sort of snippet on our local news channel, bits of a Super Bowl or something like that. We didn't have a lot of coverage down in Australia back in those days. And I thought to myself, wow, that's a good game. And I've followed it ever since. And I decided I had to pick a team. And I decided to follow the Redskins. I can tell you a little story about that if you want to hear it. In Australia, we have this candy, cherry flavoured, and they're called Redskins. And as a kid, I loved them. They were cheap, they were sweet, they tasted fantastic. And so I thought, well, I loved the Redskins back then. There's a team called the Redskins. I'm barracking for the Redskins.
That's cool.
And the funny thing, it's a bit of a coincidence, is that they were produced by a company called Allen's. And of course, George Allen,
Right.
he was the man at the time.
The signs everywhere.
Right, right. And then you are here attending some Redskin games. And how did you get connected with Mike? I mean, Mike, you introduced Phil to everybody.
Right. Well, Phil originally emailed me back in January regarding my book, The Washington Redskins Football Vault. He was very interested in it, wanted more information, and that's how we first came in contact. And I went to the post office, and they weighed the book, find out how much it would cost to send it to Australia. I signed it, Dexter Manley signed it, and off it went to a land down under.
All right.
Yeah, I've had a great time reading through the history and all the memorabilia that's contained in that book, because, of course, I've not seen any of that stuff in Australia. And Mike and I started chatting over the email, and he said, well, if you ever get the opportunity, come over. And so I checked the schedule. I was a little worried about the lockout. So the Redskins had their first 2 games at home, so I thought, I'm coming over.
Right. He's been here for the first, the first 2 games, Giants game, Cardinals game, has had great seats. He's just the perfect person. He's our good luck charm.
Yeah, 2-0. Right. And now, one thing, though, you didn't do, Phil. You didn't bring Crocodile Dundee here with you.
No,
I mean, that was one of my favorite guys.
Yeah, well, I would have preferred to bring Nicole Kidman. But.
Yeah, right. Hey, she's from Australia, too. Huh? Yeah. But, Crocodile, he could go against those Cowboys. I mean, if he can wrestle crocodiles.
I'm not sure he'd get in the stadium now with the pat-downs that they're having.
Okay, that's true.
I just want to say it's amazing for a person from a country like Australia where American football really isn't that well known. I mean, Phil is very knowledgeable about the game. Of course, you get Fox Sports over there, right?
Yes, we do. Yes.
So they watch the NFL there, and is able to follow it. What about in the newspapers? Do you pick it up in the newspapers?
We get little reports, obviously more when it's the playoffs. We always get the scores in the papers each weekend.
Right, so he knows a lot about this game.
All right.
And that helps out, too. All right.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's all pick a couple players. If we had to go into a big Dallas game, and it doesn't have to be a current player, it could be any Redskin player from the past, who would you take into a big Dallas game from offense and defense? We'll start with Mike.
Sorry, I'm going to take Dexter Manley on defense.
All right.
Well, maybe I gave away
Yeah, the guy who eats raw steaks before Dallas games. Yeah.
He literally hated Dallas. I mean, there were guys from the 70s that did too, but there was something. He grew up in Texas. He grew up in the Houston area, and he just came to despise the Dallas Cowboys. So
What about on offense?
offense? Sonny Jurgensen.
Okay.
Had great passing games against the Cowboys in the 60s.
All right. What about you, Phil?
Well, I think thanks to Mike's book, Ken Houston, and my all-time favourite Redskins player, John Riggins.
All right. All right. And Barron?
Since I'm keeping it irritating situation, I'm going to go with the greatest irritator of all, Pat Fisher, big time.
Yeah.
Fan of Pat Fisher,
Oh,
you know,
didn't he?
remind me of those battles he had with Carmichael with the Eagles.
Yeah.
And when you look at Des Bryant, a big physical receiver, you know, you have a Pat Fisher out there who would irritate him.
Oh, boy, he would bug him, wouldn't he?
And definitely. And I would actually bring Brian Mitchell in.
Brian
Because
Mitchell.
when you would watch Redskins games and Cowboy games, it was always an element in one of those games that somebody from the special teams would do.
Okay.
And Brian Mitchell would be that one to fill
All
that
right,
gap.
and my picks are on offense, George Stark, one of the Hogs. I mean, hey,
there
you
you
got to go with the Hog, and George Stark hated the Cowboy.
He did.
And I've talked to him, and he hated him. And also, I think I'd go with Dexter Manley. I mean, got to go with Dexter.
Right.
All right?
He would live for Dallas.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And thanks, Phil, for coming.
Thank you.
And thanks for being a Redskin fan all the way in Australia.
No problem with that.
All right. We're going to go to the Outback and have dinner or something, right? You know, Outback, Phil?
Thank you, Marvin.
All right. So we'll be back after the bye week, after the Redskins play the Eagles. Thanks for joining us. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Marvin.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.